Hari Om friends, welcome once again to Sanatan Dunya, your spiritual home. In this video, I shall be giving my commentary on one of the finest works of wisdom by Adi Shankaracharya called the Dakshinamurti Stotram. This work of Adi Shankaracharya contains the quintessence of the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. If one does not have the time or inclination to study all the Upanishads and other Shastras that deal with Brahman, then this one composition of 10 slokas shall suffice to convey the core teachings of Advaita Vedanta. Before I go ahead and give my commentary on the slokas of Dakshinamurti Stotram, I have a small request to make. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, then I suggest you do so that you may be updated about forthcoming videos uploaded to this channel. So let's move on. In this work, we find that Lord Shiva himself, as Sri Dakshinamurti, teaches through silence and in 10 slokas all that is needed to be known with regard to Brahman. Normally, in society, we find that knowledge is imparted by the elderly to the younger generations so that the youngsters can live a life of noble ideals, values, and knowledge, and thereby shape the formation of an intellectually and morally advanced society. However, here in Dakshinamurti Stotram, we find that the young Guru in the form of Sri Dakshinamurti is instructing his aged disciples who are themselves saints and rishis in the highest wisdom of Sanatan Dharma called Brahma Vidya. Dakshinamurti is an aspect of the Hindu god Shiva as Guru or teacher of all types of knowledge. This aspect of Lord Shiva as Paramaguru is his personification as the supreme or the ultimate awareness, understanding, and knowledge. Dakshinamurti literally means one who is facing south or Dakshina in Sanskrit. According to another school of thought, Dakshinya means Karuna in Sanskrit or kindness or benevolence. So, this manifestation of Shiva is a benevolent teacher who accords wisdom to the seekers of liberation. In most of the Shiva temples, the stone image of Dakshinamurti is installed facing south on the southern circumambulatory path around the sanctum sanctorum. Perhaps of all the Hindu gods, he is the only one sitting facing south. In most of the works of wisdom, stotrams, and compositions in Sanatan Dharma, it is a standard practice to chant a few slokas in praise of the deity under consideration before going into the text of the particular work. So, here too, before the actual slokas of this work start, there are 5 meditation stanzas which are usually chanted before the study of this work. Hence, in this video, I shall be giving my commentary only upon these 5 invocatory prayers, and from the next video onwards, I shall be giving my commentary on the actual slokas of Dakshinamurti Stotram. So now for the prayers and their commentaries as follows. Meditation verse 1. I worship Sri Dakshinamurti, the young Guru, who teaches the knowledge of Brahman through silence, who is surrounded by disciples who are themselves rishis and scholars in the Vedas. I worship Sri Dakshinamurti, who is the teacher of teachers, whose hand is held in the sign of knowledge, Chin Mudra, whose nature is bliss, who ever revels in his own self, and who is ever silent. The commentary of this prayer is as follows. The first point to be noted here in this work, we find a young guru giving knowledge of Brahman to aged disciples. Normally in society, we find that people turn towards spiritual knowledge only in their old age or at the earliest in their middle age. To find youngsters taking interest in spiritual knowledge and pursuing the spiritual path in all earnestness is quite rare. However, in the past and even till this day, we find a few youngsters taking interest in spiritual matters and starting off on the spiritual path in the youth itself. The earlier we start our spiritual journey, the better it is for us. Also, it is mentioned here in this prayer that Sri Dakshinamurti teaches the knowledge of Brahman through silence. All knowledge is born out of silence, and the purpose of all knowledge in the Vedas, Upanishads, and other Shastras is to eventually silence the mind. Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji of the Art of Living states that the purpose of words is to produce silence in us, and that if the silence is not so produced in us, then the purpose of the words is defeated. Indeed, Brahma Vidya is perhaps the only branch of knowledge where a lot can be taught and learnt just by observing silence. In most of the religions of the world, a lot of importance has been given to cultivating silence in our minds. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, of secrets I am silence. Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi says that peace of mind itself is liberation. Irrespective of which path of yoga we follow, be it Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, unless our minds become silent and peaceful, the purpose of following these paths is defeated. Here in this sloka, Sri Dakshinamurti is called the teacher of teachers for the fact that he is addressing his disciples who are themselves teachers, scholars, saints, and rishis. Another master who instructs such lofty souls is Mahavatar Babaji. Most of the close disciples of Mahavatar Babaji are themselves saints, rishis, and yogis. One can make out the spiritual stature of a guru by the quality and ability of his disciples. If the disciples of a guru are themselves advanced souls and saints, then one can infer that their guru must be of a much greater stature. But of course, by making this point, I don't mean to indicate that there are differences between realized souls. At the soul level or the level of the self, there are no differences not only among saints but also among all beings of this creation. All beings are indeed the one homogeneous Brahman alone. There are no two beings in this creation, and therefore Vedanta concludes that there are no differences between any of the beings of the creation. Here it is also stated about Sri Dakshinamurti that he ever revels in his own self. This is the nature of all realized souls. They are normally found absorbed in the bliss of samadhi for days and months together, and sometimes for years together. Such is the nature of the self that we are. The self that we are is Satchitananda, or existence, consciousness, bliss. Our Shastras say that the happiness derived from samadhi is thousands of times more pleasurable than sex. Such being the case, who will not want to revel in the self once having tasted this bliss? And the best part about the happiness and bliss of samadhi is that it is permanent. Once one attains nirvikalpa samadhi, it is possible again to fall into ignorance. But by repeatedly experiencing the same nirvikalpa samadhi, it eventually becomes a permanent state of bliss for the yogi. Such a permanent state of nirvikalpa samadhi is called nirbij samadhi, or the seedless samadhi, from which there is no relapse into ignorance ever again. Further, in this prayer, it is stated that Sri Dakshinamurti's hand is held in the Chin Mudra pose. Chin Mudra is a mudra or way of holding hands in which the tip of the thumb and index finger are gently pressed against each other while the other three fingers are held straight. This is called the sign of knowledge. Friends, I have tried this mudra several times during my meditations, and what I can say is that this Chin Mudra helps a lot in focusing the mind and getting rid of distractions effortlessly. Earlier, when I used to meditate, if someone else was talking in the background, I used to feel disturbed and unable to concentrate effectively. However, ever since I started employing the Chin Mudra during meditation, I have found it so easy to avoid the distractions in the background, and that too without any effort at all. I would strongly recommend all of you to employ the Chin Mudra during meditation for deriving the above mentioned benefits. And now on to meditation verse number 2. I bow down to Sri Dakshinamurti, the teacher of the three worlds, the Lord, the destroyer of the miseries of births and deaths, who, seated on the ground under a banyan tree, grants knowledge to all the rishis who have assembled near him. The commentary of this prayer is as follows. Here in this prayer, Sri Dakshinamurti is being referred to as the teacher of the three worlds. We must remember that Sri Dakshinamurti is Lord Shiva himself, and Lord Shiva is a member of the Trinity, namely Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, who have in turn emerged from the nameless and formless Paramatma, who was represented usually as Lord Krishna or Narayana. Since Lord Shiva is Adi Guru and member of the Trinity, he is referred to as the teacher of the three worlds. Naturally then, being a Jagat Guru, he is in a position of being able to destroy the miseries of birth and death. The miseries of birth and death get destroyed only through self-knowledge and no other way. And self-knowledge is what Sri Dakshinamurti is imparting to the rishis through silence. Coming back to the topic of silence, I am reminded of a yogi who once said, Shant man se bhala sansar kisne dekha, which means whoever has seen the world with a peaceful mind. When we completely silence our mind of all thoughts, we shall attain the state of thoughtless awareness, which is what Nirvikalpa Samadhi is. After establishing ourselves in permanent Nirvikalpa Samadhi, also known as Nirbheet Samadhi, we shall attain liberation and never take rebirth again anywhere in the three worlds. Such a liberated soul then has the freedom to choose whether he wants to remain in creation and help other evolving souls as a Sadguru does, or whether to take Brahma Nirvana and merge into the higher unmanifested once and for all. Further in this prayer, it is stated that Sri Dakshinamurti is seated under a banyan tree where he is giving knowledge of Brahman to the rishis assembled there. This is a typical description of many masters in the past who have seated themselves under a banyan tree either to attain samadhi or to teach their disciples after attaining samadhi. Lord Krishna has stated in the Bhagavad Gita, of trees I am the banyan tree. Lord Buddha too attained self-realization under a banyan tree. There are some special qualities of a banyan tree which are conducive for deep meditation and contemplation. And now I move on to meditation verse number 3. Strange indeed, under the banyan tree were the aged disciples around the youthful Guru. He taught them with silence, and the doubts of the disciples were all dispelled. As I have stated previously, normally we find elders giving words of wisdom or knowledge or advice to the youngsters, but here it is the other way around. The case of a young guru instructing aged scholars and rishis. The best way to get rid of doubts on any topic or matter is to sit in silence and meditate upon the point under question. Silent reflection on a piece of knowledge or sloka reveals the deeper meaning of that particular piece of knowledge or sloka which we otherwise wouldn't have been able to understand. Hence, silence is the key to spiritual understanding and realization. Now I move on to meditation verse number 4. Salutations to Sri Dakshinamurti, the abode of all learning, the healer of all those who suffer from the disease of samsara, and the teacher of the whole world. The commentary of this prayer is as follows. Once again, Sri Dakshinamurti is being hailed in this sloka as the teacher of the whole world. The Sanskrit name for this is Jagat Guru. Samsara refers to the whole world of change and plurality in which all the jivas undergo sorrow and suffering along with a little bit of joy from time to time. This samsara is full of ups and downs and pairs of opposites and is very difficult to overcome. Indeed, Lord Krishna says in the Gita, my Maya consisting of the three gunas is very hard to cross. But those who have taken shelter under me can easily cross beyond it. On our own, it is impossible to cross the samsara. But if we get a realized guru like Sri Dakshinamurti or Adi Shankaracharya or Shirdi Sai Baba or Ramana Maharishi or Swami Chinmayananda or any of the number of masters which the world has produced, then it would be much easier to cross the same samsara. As seekers, all we need to do is keep pursuing sadhana, seva, and satsang and surrender ourselves to our Sadguru. Then we shall be able to make progress in the right direction. Therefore, here Sri Dakshinamurti is being referred to as the healer of all those who suffer from samsara. This is the role of the spiritual master who heals his disciples and guides them towards the ultimate goal of self-realization. And now I move on to the last prayer, prayer number 5, meditation verse number 5. Salutations to Sri Dakshinamurti, who is ever pure and ever calm, the embodiment of pure knowledge, and who is but the indicative meaning of Om, the Supreme. Purity is the hallmark of a realized master. As far as we disciples are concerned, sometimes we are pure when we come under the mode of goodness, and sometimes when we come under the mode of passion and ignorance, we become impure for the time being. So, in other words, a conditioned soul finds it hard to maintain his or her purity. However, a realized master like Sri Dakshinamurti and others maintain their purity naturally and easily, as effortlessly as a flower emits fragrance. Also, realized masters are ever calm. They do not let parasthiti affect manasthiti, which means that they do not let circumstances disturb their peaceful state of mind. Staying calm under all circumstances, be they of joy or sorrow, and maintaining evenness of mind is at the core of the practice of yoga in day-to-day life. As Lord Krishna says in the Gita, evenness of mind is called yoga. Finally, it is said in this prayer that Sri Dakshinamurti is an embodiment of pure knowledge and the indicative meaning of Om, the Supreme. When it comes to Brahma Vidya, attaining theoretical understanding of concepts and clarity of mind is only the first stage. It does not stop here. In order to liberate ourselves from birth and death and attain liberation, we need to have the experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi at least once in our lives. It is only the first experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi which is difficult to get. However, once we get it, then it shall be relatively easier to maintain it and then attain permanent Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is known as Nirbij Samadhi or seedless Samadhi. Then we shall be liberated and never again take birth or wander in the creation. That is the state of permanent peace, happiness, bliss, and freedom. Then and only then shall we truly rest in peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So friends, here ends my commentary on the introductory prayers of Dakshinamurti Stotram. I shall be going into the text of the Dakshinamurti Stotram from the next video onwards. I shall be covering one sloka per video, sharing with all of you the insights that I have on this work. So stay tuned to this channel and kindly subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, so that you may be updated about forthcoming videos uploaded to this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day ahead. Hari Om.